Katelyn Matthew, and I'm involved with the Chief Atahm Nest, which is a early child program in full immersion. I'm personally involved with everything the basis of I teach in the grade 1-2 classroom part-time. I'm in the curriculum room part-time. I'm helping doing recruitment and marketing for both the Chief Atahm School and the Nest, and then I also am, unofficially the main supervisor at the Nest. The Nest is our program is for 6 months to 4 years old. So we encourage parents to apply and work there so you can work and have your baby, but nowadays it's not really just that. So we have the babies, but this year we're definitely trying to bring back in that parent cooperation back into the Nest the way it was started years ago. The aim of the program is to introduce language in a natural environment without it being taught like in schools. We just immerse them in the language all day long without any English, and we pretty much just watch them learn. I think we bring in a lot of great philosophies when it comes to not only just childcare, but like an immersion program. So we're not just sort of one thing, and we haven't stuck to just one thing either. And it's worked really, really well so far. And we're really flexible, and you've seen it sort of change over the years naturally. I would say we measure the success of the program would always be at this age was the kids' happiness, the willingness to be there, and the learning and the language just come really naturally, and that's something we don't really have to measure in any way. Indigenous education. I guess it's a really tricky word in a way that I grew up in Indigenous education, I would say, through Chief Atahm School as my parents sort of built it. And I didn't know any other type of education until I was in high school to even have a comparison. But now that I do have a comparison, it was a huge, huge, huge difference. I would just say starting from the energy of the whole thing, expectations, and even classes, and maybe now that I can see both sides of it, I don't know where Indigenous education and non-Indigenous education sort of meet or end, but definitely growing up, I knew now that I had a very unique, tailored education, and I'm super grateful for, and that's sort of what my children I want to also be in the same type of idea. My vision specifically, because I have so many opportunities to be involved in my future children's education through Chief Atahm School and the Nest, I have lots of ideas and lots of ideals that I'm hoping that I can put my input in. But a lot of it, I personally really believe in democratic education systems, so asking children what they want to learn, and when they want to learn, they learn it so much quicker, everyone's so much happier, and you find kids actually want to learn lots of these stereotype things that you should learn at school when they're not forced to being learned. So I think I see that at Chief Atahm a lot, especially when I went there, was just really asking kids, like, what do you want to learn? And we're focusing on the language, so you can honestly add language into anything. So that's a really amazing part about focusing on language. And another part is just we add in the culture aspect so seamlessly, it's really hard to even picture it not there, but that's something that I see slowly coming just back into our normal lives. When I talk to people and bring up stories that I grew up with at school, even though I didn't go to school with them, they've heard it somewhere too from either their elder or somewhere else. And that's really exciting for me to go, oh, you know that coyote story too? Or, oh, you know what that rock was over there too, right? And it's kind of mind blowing because I grew up with that being like, no one really knew that. I knew that because at the specific place I learned it, but now I'm realizing it's really spreading, and that's really exciting for me. So my vision is to have that be just something everyone knows, and it's not weird or strange or unique, but it's just like, oh yeah, I know what that is, because it's just so seamlessly integrated into everything you're doing day to day. Definitely more language speakers. Um, that is probably the biggest push right now is having more young people like myself who are going to continue this in a way that is actually contributing to the future. I know lots of people who are interested in the language, but unless you're able to put yourself in a position to work at the school or at the nest, that's what we're really lacking. Especially at the nest, it's been really hard to get staff, and we just lucked out this year. But that's been one of the main things. We want to expand, but we can't expand unless we have more language knowing people. You don't have to be a teacher, but you need to know the language enough to survive a day in it. And that's been really difficult. So we need more language speakers, first of all. And preferably we want someone who's young and motivated and who wants to stay in the language for, a good portion of time. And besides that, right now, definitely space, which kind of goes hand in hand with funding. But that's something that we've been really lacking. And we can add in more kids if we have more space. And so that's we're at this dilemma of we want to keep getting bigger, but we can't right now. And so we're kind of limited, but our waiting lists are getting bigger and bigger too, which is really exciting. But we're at this medium spot where we want to be able to say yes, but right now we're cutting a little tight, especially at the school. I know that they're expanding and they're getting a new building, which is amazing, but we had to fight for that for a really long time. Definitely more developers. So coding people, website people, app people, game people. We've had a few collaborations that have been going on throughout the interior. That's really amazing, but we only have maybe one really techie based in our organization, and it would be great just to have some more of that, because that's where the future is going 100%. I know so many parents that come to me and go, I can't make those language classes, I work, or I get back late, or this and that, right? And no matter how many language classes that we offer in person, there's never going to be everyone who wants to learn a language isn't going to be able to attend. So I've personally heard people who go, I want an app, I want more, a better website, I want more games, because we do have things trickling out. But I know for a fact those projects, took years and years just because of the lack of people who have that education or that background. I personally don't. And so that's for me something I see for my generation is I'm getting more traction on a Facebook group than I ever had on the website. And so now we're putting lots of the energy into the Facebook group because we're just having to go with where the people are. And I think apps, an app for that, they're definitely should be a good language app with just games and whatever. And I know it's been on everyone's radar, but it just hasn't really gotten there yet because of the attention it needs. The reason why I'm so personally passionate about the nest, which I've been working at on and off officially since I was 14, unofficially way younger, but I've gotten to really see the ins and outs of the whole thing now, and it just every time it just amazes me how far we've gotten with the entire program. And I didn't really realize until I went and did a workshop for the language nest, and I didn't necessarily learn anything new about how to run a nest, but I did get to hear about a bunch of other nests, and that was amazing for me because one, I didn't even really know maybe that there were other nests. I think I kind of knew it was a thing, but I'd never heard or met anyone who'd worked in one. I never saw another one. So once I got to compare, I got to reappreciate everything again, that we've been doing this for so long, that all the little kinks and the little things that take years and years to work out, we've kind of gotten past that hump, and we're really just focusing on now is expanding and being able to offer more to parents. But generally this year I'm realizing that there's been a lack of attention in a lot of areas, mostly because my mom's been running all of the programs and she can only spread herself so much. So I'm really glad that I'm able to somewhat take the reins over and continue this. But I got to see where all these little gaps were happening, which all of it had to do with marketing things. So we didn't have a Facebook page, we didn't have a website, we didn't have an updated brochure, we didn't have our name out there. And I And I realized like no one's doing this. And that's unacceptable at this point, because in this day and age, how can we not have a website? How can we not have a Facebook page? So now that I've gotten the word out, it's honestly caught on fire. I've gotten more um, offers for interviews from different places and different students, and that's really exciting for me to go, that's all I had to do. And now we're out there, and right now we're focusing on the funding for a new building, which is, I think, going to change the entire aspect of this and really push everything like forward full blown, because we've been in the same building, same material. And I mean, we've been working everything fine. Everything's been great. But I just can't wait. I can almost picture it and see it of, doubling the size, being able to bring on more staff, and have it just be almost a regular option for childcare versus just the language nest. Because before we were only offering 2 times a week. And personally, I don't think 2 times a week is enough, and it's never going to be enough. And we're back to 3 times a week with longer days. And I'm hoping in the future we're going to bring it up. I want my kids to go 4 times a week. So if I'm kind of running it, I feel like I have that nice freedom to say, well, this is what I want for my kids. So I'm going to implement that into the program, which is really exciting to have that. But no, I'm really excited. Just that's our next future endeavor, and we're just putting full force. And I'm really glad that it's all kind of working. And I'm hoping to share some of these ideas too with some other nests around BC, and just have it kind of be on the map as a thing now. And I see that, and it's really exciting.